Hello, welcome back to Root at Badger Rock's virtual garden series. My name is Forrest Smart. I'll be running through a little bit of harvesting today. We're looking at watermelons. Again, it's about the middle of August, so peak harvest time. Right now we're in our hoop house. We got a few things growing in here. We actually have some sweet potatoes over there growing. Those are doing really well, really spreading out a lot. Those will be ready to harvest and pretty soon actually, come around September or so. We also have some collards in here. We have some carrots growing on this side. And then in springtime, during actually one of our classes at the Badger Rock Middle School, we planted watermelons with the kids. I think we planted about 7 or 8 watermelon plants mixed in with the collards. Uh, some of them came up, some of them died out. I think maybe about half the plants survived. So throughout the summer, we had, I think, maybe about 8 to 10 watermelons growing in here. Maybe from some neighbors around the area, or maybe some pests, something. Some of our watermelons disappeared. Not sure where they went. Hopefully they went to good homes, or they were eaten and enjoyed. So, but we do have a few left that we're going to be picking here today. We just want to go over when to pick or when to harvest watermelon, just the things to look for, and then kind of just some what you can do to store it and keep it a little bit longer. So today we have a few left over. The ones that we have here, we'll look at kind of the signs. There's a few stages of where they are at ripeness, as well as one that kind of got a little overripe, and we probably should have picked it a little sooner, but sometimes that happens. All good. So we'll get down to it. When we want our watermelons, they'll probably come around 2 to 3 months after you first plant them, coming from seed. Once watermelon plants start getting their blossoms on, maybe give it about another month or so, and they should be about ripe. Big thing with watermelon is you just want to make sure you get it when it's ripe. We actually have a kind of a bummer situation down here, but we can see one of our watermelons might have been a little bit too ripe for a while, and then it started to disintegrate. So that one we kind of lost. It got really mushy right away, and it just kind of fell apart. So didn't get to that one quick enough, it seems like, or perhaps maybe a pest got to it as well, and we just didn't check it soon enough. But on our other ones we have over here, a good telltale sign is when you're growing them, is coming off the vine, we're going to have this little tendril on the other side, opposite of where the stem is. So this is what we're looking for right here. A good telltale sign of when they're getting ripe is this little part will start to die back and become brown, real crispy. This one's still got a little bit of green left in it. It's still kind of alive over here. So I think this one we're going to leave set for a little bit longer until this dies back. Another big telltale sign of ripe watermelon is looking on the underside where the watermelon is touching the ground. It usually will have a yellow spot. Yellow spot means it's starting to turn into sugar. So it's going to be getting really sweet at that point. If we look at this one, you can kind of tell compared to the other side, it might be starting to get a little bit lighter right in this area right here. But it's still looking pretty green. So right now I think we're going to leave this one to go for a little bit longer. Although I think this is the biggest one technically in our garden at the moment. But we're going to let this go a little longer. Tendril's still green. Yellow spot's not quite there. So it's got a little bit more time. Another thing you can look at for is just color-wise. Usually when watermelons start to get full size, they'll be nice and shiny on the outside. We kind of want them to start getting more of a duller green. So, I mean, we can kind of see on there it's getting a little bit duller compared to maybe this side, a little bit more brighter green. But that's another telltale sign of it'll start getting more ripe is when it gets a little bit duller of a green, not so sharp. But another quick example of one that might be getting pretty close is this one right here. I was talking about that tendril being opposite of the stem being nice and dry. So this is the right there. It just popped right off. Nice and brown, crispy already. So this one probably pretty close to being good for harvest right now. Got a yellow spot. That's the only one we're not quite seeing right now, is that it's not quite yellow on the underside. So I think just for that sake, we might leave it for a little bit longer, but we're definitely going to get this out within the next day or maybe a couple days. We'll go to our last example, a little bit over here. All right, and our last one over here, I think this is the one we're gonna harvest. Again, it's got the tendril over here. It's dying back. It's all brown, really crispy. And then nice and dull green on the top side. And it could be turning a little bit more yellow, but I can start seeing getting a little bit here, lighter color. And you might have heard of also checking for ripeness with the tap test. The idea behind that is when you tap your watermelon, you want it to be kind of hollow sounding. And the idea behind that is once it starts turning more sugary, or once it starts turning into more sugar, it'll become more watery. And then that'll be just a hollower sound rather than like a full knocking sound, if that makes sense. But I think this one will be a good example for ripened watermelon. And yeah, I think we'll go with this one. It'd probably be best if you have some shears cut off the stem so you're not kind of ripping it, potentially ripping some of the rind or exposing it. So I think I'll just save that for another moment so I do it properly. But that's a good example right here. Nice ripe watermelon. It's what you want. Again, depending on the size and the variety, can maybe take a little longer, or just the sizes might be a little bit bigger. Ours are just a little bit smaller compared to like conventional watermelons you find in the store that are, huge like that. But once you pick your watermelon, you're going to want to use it as soon as you can, right away, cut it up. If you leave it out in room temperature, I'd say it'll last about a week without cutting into it at all, or at least for like peak ripeness before it starts to get really soft or kind of mushy. So otherwise, if you want to store it a little bit longer, just keep it in a cooler area, darker area as well. It'll help preserve it a little bit longer. You can't keep it on ice too as well. And then if you're going to cut into it, once you slice up your watermelon, then you'll want to make sure you put it in an airtight container, put it into the fridge, whatever it may be, just so you can keep it a little bit longer, maybe like a week or so like that. But that's basically the premise for harvesting watermelons, storing watermelons. And if you checked out our workshop earlier this week, we did a cooking workshop of making a watermelon and feta salad, which was super delicious, very, very good on a hot summer day. Again, watermelon is really good for hydrating you, replenishing your electrolytes, and just keeping you hydrated. So very good time for watermelon. Make sure you know what you're doing, or helps you know what you're doing and picking the right one. And yeah, hopefully this helps you out and brings out some good recipes or just a good hydrating bite of watermelon coming up. But that's all we got for today's workshop, and we'll see you again for next week. Thank you.